but they did not see him. Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted them to the things about himself in all of the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road, and how he had been known to them in the breaking of the bread. Here ends the reading.
You may be seated. Next hymn is number 678 in the blue hymnal. We gave you the blue hymnals, hopefully most of you have them. If it's not as familiar,
Yes, this song, it has an African background from Tanzania. It's called "Christ is Arisen." I think you'll get the groove of it once we go, but it tells the story of Jesus coming out of the tomb and surprising people. So I thought it fits, so we'll give it a try here.
Thank you. This sermon was provided by former bishop now, I suppose, Hindi Helmarson, for use today. Well, they have the Synod Convention going on in China. So this is just sent to read. Grace and peace in the name of our triune God, and greetings in the name of 24,000 ELCIC Lutherans in 120 congregations in Saskatchewan and Western Manitoba. On this Sunday, we give thanks for God's faithfulness as the Saskatchewan Synod gathers in Regina for our biennial convention. Thanks be to God for the faithful leaders, supporters, staff, and partners whose efforts have supported the mission of God in our Synod and throughout the world. Through Saskatchewan Synod, and especially through its pastors, diaconal ministers, and congregations, hope is revealed in the light of the gospel, proclaiming God's love for you and me, for our communities, and for the world. Hope is elusive to people who are captives to grief. All of us are captives to grief at some time or another, captive to circumstances and events which make for heavy hearts and unbearable lives. All people are captives to grief, cornered by doubts and fears, or dead-ended by hopeless situations that say to us, all is lost, give up. You and I, God's own faithful people, are captives to grief. When life is hard, when pain is real, when we suddenly feel alone. But take another look around to see where hope shows the way. 2 disciples travel a weary road. 2 disciples try to make sense of Jesus' senseless death while they journey away from Jerusalem. In their conversation, they review the events again and again, looking for meaning in Jesus' downfall. 2 walk in despair, hopeless to understand. When Jesus joins the 2 and walks with them, they don't recognize who he is. In their grief, they see only through eyes limited by the bitter experiences of the cross and the empty tomb. With no hope at all, they have the eyes of dead people, eyes which do not see. They were in Jerusalem on those last days. They know all the details. They know what happened, even if they can't make sense of it. In their litany to their walking companion, they can recite all the events leading to the cross, all the details of the final days of their leader Jesus. The facts are in their grasp. They even know the latest, most up-to-date gossip from the women who were at the tomb the first morning. But an empty tomb is only more reason to mourn the end of their hopes for deliverance and freedom. With eyes full of death and defeat, they cannot recognize or respond to the Lord who walks and talks with them. The 2 are captive to their grief. Today, with the news of Jesus' death and resurrection as fresh as Easter Sunday, and having heard the Bible's accounts of those who saw the empty tomb, we also fail to recognize the risen Christ among us. We still look at life with the eyes of this world, darkened by discouragement, hopelessness, and despair. We hear the reports of child poverty in Canada, of substandard housing in Native communities, of the health disparity between Canada's rich and poor, and we wonder where in the world Christ can be. We read global reports of racial and ethnic violence, of civil war and persecution, and we wonder why things don't get better in our world. If God's reign is coming, why should people suffer? If Christ is the King, then why is there war? Such needs call out for a response from us, and we respond with a guilty shrug and a question. What can I possibly do about any of it? It's out of my hands. Our church, congregations, synod, and national church are facing shrinking membership and shrinking participation. Money woes abound. We ask where the young people are and who will carry our church into the future. Is it enough to do as Jesus said, to love one another? Sunday after Sunday, in